Story 1. Slamming the phone down when someone makes you angry. I had a girl break up with me over the phone, and that wham as the handset hit the base was very satisfying. Story 2. My country has glaciers that are rapidly shrinking. I was hiking near one with my father and uncle, and they said in their youth the glacier stretched all the way to the starting point of the hike even in summer. Now there is only a fraction of that left, and if I ever have children, by the time they can hike there, it will be almost, if not completely, gone. Story 3. The feeling of excitement sitting down at the right time to see the latest episode of the show you like. The stress of rushing home to be there for the appointed hour. Or the tension of calling home and asking your younger brother to record the show. Story 4. I do not know if it is just me, but when I was little, there was a bird or birds that I would hear almost every morning. I do not hear them anymore. I do not know why. Story 5. Riding your bicycle to the corner store with your friends and buying a bag of candy and a drink for under $5. Story 6. People do not just randomly take pictures or videos of you. In the not-too-distant past, people did not film others without their consent. But nowadays, we have all been in hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures and videos without even knowing it. Story 7. The happy dial-up sound. Maybe I should have posted this on Unpopular Opinions. I loved that sound personally. I did not love being kicked off the internet so my mother could use the phone. Story 8. Yoda's transformation from a pesky swamp creature to Jedi Master. Story 9. Privacy in its purest form. Your thoughts, your moments, your opinions, all of it. To imagine that from the first ultrasound scan to your adulthood is public is nauseating to me. Story 10. Going to the kitchen while a commercial plays on television, and then hearing your siblings say, "It is back on," and quickly sprinting back to the living room. Story 11. Doing something silly in public and not worrying that it will be viewed globally by tomorrow. Story 12. Hanging up a phone means physically placing the handset back on the receiver, not just ending a call. Story 13. Being able to avoid advertisements is important. Society has been designed to have them intrude on every aspect of our lives. For example, when you go to the gas station, the pumps blast advertisements at you. That should be a serious offense, but instead, it is being adopted by all businesses. Calling a store? Please hold for commercials. Ordering fast food? A recording plays before a person takes your order. Surfing the web? It is full of ads. Story 14. Going out the front door in the summer when the sun came up and not coming back until the sun went down without our parents knowing where we were or if we were safe until we did or did not come home that night. Story 15. Being able to buy a video game and actually own it, rather than losing access when servers are no longer supported. Also, playing cooperative games with friends on the same television using split screen, such as GoldenEye 007, Mario Kart 64, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and the original titles. Story 16. Being offline. I am an older millennial. I only have Reddit as social media. Just being able to hang out and be yourself with your friends was important. MySpace was a thing, but no one actually cared about it. Facebook made it more personal. Now it is all a mess. Story 17. Peace and quiet. Social media, people, TV series, movies. Can't we just be anymore? I don't like to be busy all the time. Every weekend. I am not busy from Friday at 6 p.m. until Monday at 8 a.m. Them. What did you do this weekend? Me. I lifted Friday, I went to Costco, I ran 10 miles, went out to dinner Saturday, and I slept 8 hours each night. Them. You must be fun at parties. I'm not even 30 yet, but some nights I just want to read after the gym and dinner. No, I don't have a Kindle. Yes, people still buy books, and I know this because I'm one of them. We don't have to watch every new series or movie suggested by Netflix, Hulu, family, friends, or colleagues. We don't have to be on X, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok all the time. Story 18. Playing games that do not involve technology for the entire day. Story 19. The nostalgia of unintentionally leaving a voicemail that sounds like an avant-garde performance art piece, complete with background noise of a blender and a cat fight. Story 20. YouTube without being bombarded with advertisements. I seriously miss when the advertisements were designated to a small banner you could just click away instead of being interrupted every 3 minutes. Story 21. Being offline by default. When I was a child, no one had phones. The internet was not really a thing until I was in high school, and even then it was AOL online on a personal computer with dial-up, so not very fast. You could do a lot of foolish things and no one would know. You could also avoid hearing about all the foolish things everyone else was doing. It was a much healthier way to grow up, for sure. Story 22. Being able to disconnect from the world. Going to the movie rental store on a Friday night. On the same note, them actually having the movie you are looking for in stock. Same with books at the library. The stinky, nasty stickiness of the ball pit at McDonald's. Or used, beat-up old cars being semi-affordable for your first ride. Story 23. That politics was, at one time, almost civil. It was not always the completely absurd, irrational nonsense you see today. Story 24. High-speed internet. Could not download adult videos, so it had to be just pictures. Story 25. That geyser used to be blue until people started ignoring signs and dying in it. Story 26. Building a 486 personal computer and installing the shareware version of Doom. Story 27. Playing with water in the backyard is still possible. Turn on the sprinkler, spray it everywhere, get wet, and try to have fun. However, for me, and I assume other children who have become aware, you cannot turn off the part of your brain that realizes you are wasting water. Completely taints the experience. It is not as bad if you use captured rainwater, but you need to have an excess of it. Even then, something just feels wrong about it to me. The climate crisis has greatly affected my ability to enjoy consuming anything. Story 28. Going to the compact disc store to pick out a new compact disc and Nintendo 64 cartridge with your parent. Bringing home Rayman and a Scum of the Earth album with my dad is one of my core memories. My mom hated seeing her dress-up doll fall in love with boy things, but I had the time of my life. Story 29. Not being reachable if you were not at home, work, or school. No email, no mobile phones. If you made plans, you had to stick with them, and working outside of normal hours was much less expected. Story 30. The early days of the internet were wild. Experiencing it in the early 2000s was intense. Downloading adult content on Kazaa was something both illegal and disturbing that you remember for the rest of your life. Or just Bill Clinton denying having sexual relations. Story 31. As a Generation Zer, the transition from analog to digital changed the whole world and everything in it. Story 32. Waiting until 4 o'clock for the daily news. With smartphones in everyone's pockets, we know something happened within seconds of it occurring. Story 33. Not needing roommates once you have a job because jobs allow you to rent a studio or one-bedroom apartment by yourself. Also, being able to sit in a waiting room or on a bus, train, or plane and read or look around without increasing screen time. Story 34. Being able to go places without your parents tracking you. Story 35. Going offline and being missing in action for hours or days without anyone panicking. Story 36. Folding newspapers from a stack dropped off on the porch, double looping the rubber band around each, loading them in the cloth bag, and flipping the bag over the front handlebars of your bike. If it was rainy, you would put each rolled-up newspaper in a plastic bag. I will skip the everyday experience of tearing through the neighborhood, tossing the newspapers onto or near the subscribers' front doors. The best part was collecting payment. You had to visit each house and ask for the next month's payment. Some had a check, most had cash, and the best gave you many $1, half-dollar, or quarter-dollar coins. This was in the 1970s, and I loved it. Story 37. Newspapers. Responsible news. Free markets. Clean air and water. Story 38. Not feeling fear of missing out. It is bad enough for anyone under 70, and I predict it will not get any better for future generations unless there is a profound shift in our collective mindset. Story 39. Snow days are days without school. Now, if school is not in session due to snow, classes are held online. Story 40. Not always being away from the internet and notifications. Free-range childhood. Story 41. Actual good cartoon on television. Not the shows that are on now. Story 42. Being moody, sitting in a bar, getting drunk, and smoking. I know it is all terrible, but I remember it as part of moving through difficult times. Breakups, work problems, family troubles. Story 43. Northern white rhinoceros. There are only two left, both female. Science is trying everything to save them and enable them to reproduce, but without a genuine miracle, the survival of the species is unlikely. This is just one of many species on the way out, ones that future generations of humans will not get to see alive. Story 44. It saddens me to think that many will never know the joy and serenity of sitting on a dock, in a comfortable chair, in the quiet of an evening sunset, just staring out upon the horizon as the sun gently slips into the ocean. No phone, no selfies, no books, no conversation, just you, the sky, and the water, letting your mind wander where it may. They will never experience the calmness and incredible peace that doing nothing can bring. While some cannot believe that many of us have gone most of our lives without a cell phone always at hand, we cannot believe they have spent most of their lives with one. Perspective is a funny thing. Story 45. Privacy, writing notes, working without being analyzed by a complex data collection system that rates performance, getting lost somewhere. Hopefully, there will be a national holiday when everyone turns off all screens. Story 46. Doing foolish things anonymously. I did a number of unwise things as a teenager in the late 1990s, but those memories exist only with me and the people I was with. They are not going to live on the internet forever like the current generation. Story 47. Having to make the most out of an entertainment product. With a near infinite amount of entertainment on a phone, tablet, or other devices these days, if you do not like something, you can just switch to something else. When I was growing up, I had 1 or 2 games for my Game Boy and a few CDs for my CD player for bus rides and road trips. You had to make the most out of that. Story 48. I am 30 years old, a millennial, and here are a few things. LimeWire, MP3 Rocket, Pirate Bay, and the Punk Goes Pop albums. No ads, no breaks on YouTube, and more randomly selected jokes like Vine videos. Humor that is actually edgy and not just, oh, I'm depressed, LOL. I absolutely hate the fact that something that was 100% free a couple of years ago now requires paying $15, $20, or $30 a month to get the same experience as before, but it's still not the same. They will never understand truly edgy humor with little to no restrictions, completely free, and no commercials in the middle of a 30-minute video, played 8 to 9 times, without having to pay $20 or $30 a month for a subscription. Yes, I am ranting about YouTube, sorry, but streaming is now just becoming cable television, the sequel. Story 49. The excitement and urgency of needing to do something exactly during the breaks between TV episodes. Story 50. Freedom to do foolish things. Everything is illegal now. Try riding in the back of a utility vehicle on the way home from the beach. 5 people on a motorcycle riding home from the movies, and then a police officer having no idea what law you have broken. Story 51. Healthy detachment. Sometimes we need to step away from texting and social media, but I find it much more difficult than it was more than 10 years ago. Story 52. Life without the internet, social media, and cell phones was a simpler, happier time. Story 53. Moments of mental calm. I do not know how to explain it, but it seems every moment is filled with some type of entertainment or distraction. Our attention spans do not allow us to be comfortable with just sitting with our thoughts. One thing I am glad I got out of military training is standing there for hours with nothing but your thoughts. It is a level of introspection I think people may never see if not forced to. I know I would have never sat alone with my thoughts for hours on end otherwise. Story 54. The anticipation of the Sandra Bullock photo finishing downloading. Story 55. A world with zero internet. Like nothing. Not one tube, much less a series of them. I remember the feeling of walking into a new library and realizing there was an encyclopedia with information I did not know yet. Knowledge felt like treasure. Story 56. Toys R Us. I will always remember the best moments there. I wish the next generation can feel the joy of going there. Story 57. Turning on your television and finding a Godzilla marathon playing. Story 58. Living a life without technology. I did not have any technology growing up until I turned 18. No television, no home phone, no internet. The only time I had all of that was when I was in school, but I never had it at home. Story 59. Buying a new album and listening while checking out the artwork. The new generation does not have the patience for this. Story 60. Democracy suffers because younger people are too apathetic and do not vote as much as they should. Story 61. Turning on a television and waiting a few seconds for the image to appear. Story 62. Lying in a grassy field on a sunny day and interpreting the shapes of the clouds. Our attention circuits are too tired for that kind of thing to be interesting nowadays. Story 63. Glacier National Park. 29 glaciers that took tens of thousands of years to form have all melted in 50 years. Story 64. Recording music on a cassette from the radio because we were too poor to buy the new album. Later, downloading from online sources. Story 65. Living. I genuinely do not understand how the next generation will be able to do anything other than work to try to survive. It is bleak. Story 66. I absolutely love music. So of course I was all over downloading and streaming everything I wanted. But nothing ever comes close to how good it used to feel to hear a song you like. You might hear it once and never even get to know what it is called. Then weeks or months later you finally hear it again for the second time ever, and this time you are ready to take it all in. And then it is over until the next time you may be lucky enough to hear it again. Or riding in someone's car, and it is awesome because it is the only place you get to hear the music that they own and have in the car. Riding to school with my brother was the only place I got to hear System of a Down back then. Riding with my dad is where I got Metallica. Country music in my mom's car. Nowadays, it is not as valuable, and it is like you use every ounce of dopamine from a song the instant you discover it. There is no sense of wonder about what that awesome song was or who that band was if the radio did not tell you. Story 67. Just life in general. I believe life is hard for everybody. The rich, the poor, the famous, the unknown, down to the geeks and geniuses. All of us struggle in life, and the struggle is real to the person who faces it. In my opinion, most generations will not really get to enjoy life or appreciate all the beauty that the world has to offer. Story 68. People behind television shows and films pit the fan base against itself. It might not be for everything, but it feels like something they do to get more viewers. Some people take that bait too easily. Story 69. I am a Generation Z person from the Philippines, and my grandparents always say how they appreciate the weather. They said that when they want to relax, they would just sit outside and watch the clouds. They tell stories about how, when they slept at night back then, they did not even use an electric fan because the air was cool and fresh. Now, I cannot even go outside from late morning until late afternoon without the scorching sun burning me and increasing the risk of skin cancer. I cannot sleep without their air conditioning unit on. I would be a puddle in bed. Global warming is very concerning. Story 70. Being offline for hours, playing outside with friends, and using their imagination. Story 71. Getting the song by Bluetooth, but do not send it to anyone else. Story 72. Skiing feels like the days of reliable snow and somewhat affordable holidays do not have long left. Story 73. Riding in the back of a pickup truck heading down the highway. Story 74. Using a flip phone and closing it quickly is very satisfying. Story 75. Telling a computer what to do and it doing it how you asked. Story 76. Lincoln Logs, collecting marbles, cat eyes were the best. G.I. Joe action figures. The real ones that were 12 inches tall and had hair for beards. Laughing out loud, playing in the woods. And your parents did not even care how long you were out there or where you went. Story 77. In my country, sports are important. Public schools now require parents to pay a fee for children to participate in physical education. Even when no teams are using local sports complexes, you are not allowed to use them without paying. Story 78. The horror of dial-up. That noise will haunt me until my dying day. Story 79. Being able to live life without constant surveillance. Story 80. Going to the movie theaters has become less common. Streaming has become more popular and is easily accessible. I miss going to the theaters after COVID. Also, cable television or looking at a cable television guide. Or playing on those playgrounds at Burger King or McDonald's. Feels dystopian now. Just get in and get out. Story 81. The fun of meeting strangers as they approach you on the streets to ask for directions. Global positioning system on cell phones ended strangers asking each other how to get around. Story 82. Putting an empty bottle in your bicycle chain so it sounds like a motorcycle was honestly the coolest thing ever as a kid. Story 83. Being truly disconnected from technology and not being inconvenienced by it. Bringing your consoles and games to a friend's house for living room cooperative or competitive play because you did not all get the same items for Christmas and online gaming was still in its infancy. Instead of bad connection excuses, you had bad controllers, which everyone knew was not true because we were all sharing the same hardware. Story 84. Actually owning something digital. Everything might truly be subscriptions by then. Story 85. When the dollar store literally meant the cost of anything was $1. Story 86. Trick or treating. Arguing with your mom that it really was not cold enough for a jacket that would cover your costume. Grabbing a worn pillowcase to carry the candy. Walking down dimly lit streets with dried leaves crunching under your feet. Just approaching the porch could be a little scary. That was the one night of the year that we were allowed out after dark. Today's trunk or treat events just are not the same. Story 87. One thing the next generation might not appreciate is spending time outdoors without distractions. With all the technology around, they may miss the simple joy of playing outside and exploring nature. What do you think? Story 88. Older Generation Z here. My sister and I are probably some of the last people to remember a physical video store. There is nothing that compares to how fun Blockbuster and Family Video were. I would frighten myself with the covers of horror DVDs and also demand a giant gummy snake to eat that I would never finish. Story 89. Finally getting that Nintendo Entertainment System cartridge to load up glitch-free after like 10 minutes of blowing on that thing. Story 90. A sky full of fireflies. Very few during the spring and summer here on the East Coast. Story 91. Minimal screens. Just pure imagination and fun with friends outside. So many good memories. Story 92. Back when there were no telephones, no one sent text messages, but everyone went out and met their friends. Story 93. Using drugs without fear of a fentanyl overdose was more common in the past. We used to have it so good. Story 94. A time without telephones. Children still played outside, knew how to get anywhere, memorized telephone numbers, met people outside and struck up random conversations, read books and had book planners. Once telephones took off with these social applications, the generation changed significantly. Story 95. Video stores like Blockbuster provide the experience of renting your favorite games or movies. Story 96. The Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo rivalry in soccer was a major storyline in sports. I remember as a kid that their competition captured a lot of attention. Story 97. Going to a movie theater without being distracted by an inconsiderate person. Story 98. The joy of a snow day from school or work now simply shifts to being online. Story 99. Being outside for kids. Today's generation thinks being outside means gang activity. Story 100. Privacy, land and home ownership, dating, fun cars that are not just low-quality vehicles with extra USB ports, affordable groceries, fair elections. Story 101. Watching a new movie knowing nothing about it except maybe a trailer scene a couple of months ago. Story 102. The time and effort to get what you wanted, such as a movie rental, made it more exciting. Not having everything quickly available added to the anticipation. Playing outside was also better before the 2000s. Story 103. Not even knowing about deepfakes, let alone being concerned about them. Story 104. The feeling of a movie marathon on television and running to the bathroom during commercials while mom or dad cooks dinner. Story 105. I feel sorry for people who cannot or will not experience wilderness. Story 106. Watching cartoons after school and having it be the topic of discussion the next day. Having huge house parties where all people had in their hands were drinks and other people's partners. Going to school without metal detectors or shooting drills. Going to watch a movie and having no idea if it was good or bad because there were no online reviews. Going on vacation with family and not having everyone absorbed in their devices. Story 107, mid-millennial here. I would say enjoying banter. No one got doxxed as a teen, early, or late adult. Offending anyone was not a thing. You could literally say something to a friend you knew, and everyone laughed. A couple of years ago, I posted a comment on a video on a friend's Facebook. He called me, and we had a laugh about everything. A friend of his saw it, took offense, contacted corporate, and tried to get me fired. The sensitivity is absurd, and the righteousness is wild and only getting worse in my opinion. Story 108. Jokes and comedies from the 1990s or early 2000s that are not offensive or likely to be canceled. Story 109. Retirement. There is no more retirement. We work until we die. Story 110. Local multiplayer games on consoles allow you and your friends to play together in person. Story 111. Picking up the other phone line to eavesdrop on a sibling's conversation. Story 112. Browsing pages in the Argos catalog. Yes, they have the Smiths one, but it is just not the same. Story 113. 1. Buying tickets at the venue. 2. Reading the newspaper. 3. Life without a smartphone. Story 114. Playing outside, apparently. Those were the days. Sneaking into a construction yard and launching yourself off the top of a pile of dirt, with or without a bike. Finding adult magazines in the woods for some reason. Always the rumors of some homeless person. Living in a shack in the countryside with a knife and trying to find him. Playing war or sword fighting with sticks, sometimes resulting in bleeding. Panicking when the streetlights turned on and knowing you were way too late getting home and mom would be angry. I am old. Story 115. Running to the restroom as soon as the commercial break starts and finishing just as someone yells it is on from the other room. Story 116. Browsing through a catalog and seeing all the toys you might want for Christmas. Now it is all on screens. Story 117. I also miss waiting and anticipating a call or a visit after someone had been away for a while. When my brother left and came back 2 years later, the joy was just over the top. I don't miss anyone like that now. People are always texting and FaceTiming or using other methods. A letter in the mail handwritten with little gifts. Yes, I am old, in my 50s. Story 118. The joy of buying a new video game from GameStop and being able to put it right into your console and start playing it. No downloads, no updates, just put the game in and have fun. Those were the days. Story 119. Complete anonymity is rare. Anyone can be found these days unless they are completely off the grid. Story 120. Making mistakes in public, having people take out their phones and record it to post online to humiliate you. Story 121. The way friends looked at you when you had a 5 CD changer. I knew his parents were doing well, but I didn't know they were doing well enough to afford a CD changer. These kids can listen to music for 4.5 hours straight without changing a compact disc. Story 122. Knocking on friends' doors to hang out, terrible dial-up internet, stretching the phone cord halfway around the house, smoking low-quality weed, coming home when the streetlights come on, sandpit parties. Story 123. It is a cliché, but going out with friends, walking miles to some random forest or fields, then spending hours having fun without parents worrying we have been trafficked or worrying about a friend recording us on their phones. Story 124. A world without the threat of terrorism and mass shootings. Story 125. The non-smoking section of restaurants used to still smell like smoke. Now it is a smoke-free paradise. I still enjoy a cigarette or two, but never when I eat. Story 126. From what I have heard, many children do not know what fun is like outside of staring at a screen, whether it is a computer, television, or phone. Someone on Reddit said their 6-year-old does not know how to play with toys. Literally just does not know how. The parent tries to show them, but they still do not really get it and do not try. On their own. That is terrible because when I was a kid, I had no problem coming up with ideas, using my imagination to create stories for the toys to act out. Even random inanimate objects could be toys if I used my imagination. A rag could be a stingray, bat, dragon, or anything else. Apparently, technology is ruining this experience for kids. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.